So I wanted to point something out. Now, for those of you that are in the workforce, you may have heard representation being mentioned multiple times within an organization. And what they mean by this is they want the ability to discriminate based on race, sex, gender, or whatever, so they can have equal representation in the ranks of leadership. What does that mean? It means if there is black and a white person, let's say they're both male for the sake of argument, black and a white, both are equally qualified for the position, but because 70 to 80% of the leadership is white, you need to hire the black person because they need equal representation. That way they could have a diverse section of employees at the leadership level so that they can have people that look like them. They're talking about visible diversity is how they put it. Well, I was just laid off, a fun fact, and the company that I used to work for had donated $5 million to a company that does just this, but it's specific to them as gender diversity. They need more women in leadership, and so they created a program called MARC, M-A-R-C, Men Advocating for Real Change. Let's just say that it was well loved and liked for anybody that lives in Silicon Valley and California, and most of the other places too, because they argued for men advocating real change. I voiced against this, of course, because that is a sexist thing to do. If women can't... Are women so weak that they need men to advocate for them? Is that what we're trying to say here? That men need to advocate for change by giving women positions? Promoting somebody else above yourself? It's a selfless act. And if the person deserves it, maybe. But it should be done on merit, not on genitalia. That's the way it should be done. That's not the way it's being done in Fortune 50 companies and up, because the company that supports this thing is called Catalyst. They advocate for real change. They like to perform and promote gender equity, not equality. And one of the arguments I got in with the chief diversity officer at my former company was the idea that equity and equality are different. And the way he described equity is, say you have somebody that has disability. They're stuck in a wheelchair. And you afford them additional benefits because they're stuck in a wheelchair, giving the ramp access, making sure that there's accessibility options for the building, if they need special equipment. So let's say there was a guy I used to work with whose hands were stuck, like this basically. I can't remember exactly what he had, but he was paraplegic, and his hands were crooked. He could not move his fingers, basically. So we got him a trackball mouse, and with buttons on either side, and a special clip that kind of went around his hand, like a glove, that is pogo stick sticking out of it, basically. And he could trackball the mouse, and he could type with it too. He had one on each hand, so he could double hunt and peck, basically. And he was a graphic art designer. He was brilliant, actually. I remember one of the questions he asked me when he was designing something was. It was a drinking fountain in Tiger Woods golf. And he asked me, does this drinking fountain make you want to drink from it? And this is in a video game freaking, 15 years ago? Something like that. So, the graphics were, but at the time they were, yeah. And I was like, what an odd question to ask me. Yes. That looks like an actual drinking fountain that I would drink from. That looks pretty sanitary. It's shiny. It's pretty. It looks clean. I would probably drink from that if it was functional. And it was an odd question, I thought. Well, what you would do, what he called equity, was giving him the keyboard, I don't know what they were called, the hand devices, so he could hunt and peck and move the mouse and do all his job. Access to the building so that he could get in and out of the door, having the pressure plate, handicap access so the door auto opens for you, so you don't have to try and pry the door open. Stuff like that. He called that equity. Now that person has a level playing field. That's not equity. That's equality. You're treating everyone the same. Yes, they require some additional things to be able to work. Yeah, sure. That's not equity. Who's to guarantee? See, here's the thing that people don't get. Let me translate it into something that makes sense. And this is a little tangent, I know, but let's go down it just because. Sweat equity. What is that? That's when you put a bunch of work into your house in an effort to get equity out of it when and if you decide to go sell that house. So, you know all those shows that flip homes and shit like that? They demonstrate sweat equity. They buy a rundown piece of shit, they tear everything out, they put a bunch of money into it, and they try to get profit out of it. That is sweat equity. They're trying to get more out with the effort that they put in. Now, equality would be two houses, one sucks, one does not. Which one's going to sell more? Right? Equity, in the case of this person, is not expecting that you're going to get... They expect to get not as much productivity out of this person as they would somebody else that's more able-bodied. It's not going to happen. This isn't to say that that person was not productive, because he was. He's just going to be slower than everyone else because of the limited capacity that he has. This is not to diminish his skills or abilities whatsoever, because the guy was a genius. It's just he was stuck in a situation where he couldn't help it. That being said, equality would have been he has every benefit and he's set up at the same level that everyone else is now. We give him the tools, the utilities, everything he needs to make sure that he can function to the best of his ability. And if he still fails, that's on him. That's it. Equity, in the idea of social justice, is expecting to put all that work into that person and getting equal outcomes out. But the problem is there's highly productive people that use all of their abilities that will outshine literally everyone else because of equality. Our human species functions in this manner. There are people that are better than everyone else. There are people better than me in certain subjects. There are people that are worse than me in certain subjects. For example, I can't run anymore. I'd get smoked. But if I got a hold of you, I could take you down because I got skills. Just as a small example. I suck at math. I can't do medical. The medical field in general, nope, staying away from it. Now, if you go into IT and leadership, yeah, I'm probably one of the better qualified candidates there. All that being said, back to the subject at hand. They want people to advocate for women and put the women in front of themselves. The whole idea is to turn male executives. This isn't targeted at the normal level. This is targeted at the upper echelons because they can get the buy-in there. They can force it down to people below. That's the concept. So what they want is the idea to call it fair play, but really what they want is women promoted. That's it. They want equal representation through fabricated means. Put a woman there first because they're a woman, not because they're qualified. That's essentially what it is. So when you hear equal representation, just know that they're talking about discrimination. It's plain and simple. That's exactly what they're talking about. The MARC program from Catalyst, as an example, is a sexist movement. Now, I found it pretty interesting. I was talking to some friends of mine in Kazakhstan. The women there in Kazakhstan, the management tried to impose and implement this as a product of the company. Because the company is trying to deploy this thing worldwide. It's going to be great. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread or whatever the fuck. The new invention, it's better than the wheel. Yeah. They tried to imply it in Kazakhstan. The women in Kazakhstan said, "What the fuck is this? I don't approve. How dare you demean women here? We are strong. We don't need men to advocate for us." Now, that is the proper response from women on projects like this. It is demeaning, it is belittling, and it is demoralizing to women. Now you need men to advocate for you. That's pretty much what you're saying. I need to hold you up because you can't hold yourself up. No. Everyone has an equal opportunity. You crash and burn or succeed on your own. I'm not going to advocate for anyone else. I'm going to advocate for me. Mainly because I'm now laid off. So might as well forbore at this YouTube thing. I think that's all I got for now. I'll drop a link in the chat box or in the comment section, whatever, to go see Catalyst and MARC, and you can see what is being sold. And I do mean sold. $5 million was donated to this company to keep their program going. They created some racist, sexist shit, basically, and they're getting paid for it. Now, if we can counter this in some way and create a group or an organization that gets donated money that does not turn people into sexist pieces of shit, that would be great. But since the cultural shift right now is for social justice at the executive level, that's going to be a hard-fought battle. But I'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you next time.